Alright, so today we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing rational numbers. So, remember back to the foldable that we made, that when the same signs, they equal a positive, but if they have different sign, equals a negative. So, there's a couple of different ways you can think about this. I'm going to tell you a story, or not really a story, just what you think should happen. In our legal system, if something good happens to someone good, it's good, right? So good and good, great, that's good, that's positive. If something bad happens to someone bad, that's bad and bad, it's still good, they get what they deserve. Well, if something bad happens to someone good, is that good? No, that's bad, so that would be negative. If something good happens to someone bad, is that good? No, karma needs to happen, so and that is negative. But that's a story, that's the way I remember it sometimes, but here's our ways that you can visually remember it. So if you put your hand, so if you're multiplying, let's look at number 1, how to remember the rules. We can draw our little triangle right here. So if you have a negative times a negative, it's a positive. If you have a negative and a positive, it's a negative. So, and then the same thing, if you have a negative and a positive, it's a negative. So you can remember like that, and you can put your fingers on the 2 dots, and whatever's left is what you have. Or you can make a little tic-tac-toe board. And it doesn't matter which diagonal you put the positives, but you just want your positives put in a diagonal, so it can be that way, or you can actually draw it this way and it'll work the same, and the rest are negatives, and it works the same way. So a positive times a positive is a positive, right? A positive times a negative is a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. So these are just ways to remember. Negative times negative is a positive. Negative times positive is negative. So these are just a couple different ways that you can remember. Choose your preference. Alright? I know us as teachers, we choose whatever we like in our classrooms. So let's do some practice problems over this. So 21 divided by 0.07. So they are the same sign, so it's going to be positive. They're the same sign. So we're 21 divided by 0.07. Remember that a decimal can't be on the outside of the division sign. So we need to move the decimal place over right there, which means we also need to move this decimal place over 2 and fill with zeros. So there's going to be our decimal and our answer. So now we can just divide 7 into 21. So 7 times 3 is 21. 3 times 7 is 21. I get left with 0. So 7 goes into, bring my other 0 down. 7 goes into 0, 0 times. 0 times 7 is 0. See the pattern right here? How many times does 7 go into 0? 0. So 21 divided by 0.07 is 300. Now, is it positive or negative? Well, we have a positive and a positive. So, oops, that's not the one I wanted to draw. I want to draw the tic-tac-toe board. So, tic-tac-toe, positive times positive equals a positive. So our answer is positive 300. Alright, now we have a negative times a positive times a negative. Remember order of operations. Multiplication we do left to right. So we have, the first thing we're going to do is do 7.3 times, or negative 7.3 times 4. Let's not worry about the negative right now. Let's just multiply like normal. So 7.3 times 4. Remember, we have to line up our decimal places, so 4 needs to go to 4.0. Then we multiply. Well, 0 times everything is just 0. 0 times 3 is 0. 0 times 7 is 0. Then we need our placeholder 0. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry my 1. 4 times 7 is 28 plus 9 is 29. I'm going to add, so I'll just get 2920. I have 2 decimal places in my answer, or in my problem, so that means I'm going to have 2 decimal places in my answer. So, negative 7.3 times 4 is 29.20. If we look back on our triangle, I'm going to use the different ones this time. A negative times a positive is a leftover is a negative. So now I have negative 29.20 times negative 2. Now I'm going to get a different color for this. That way all of our work's not running together. Okay. So I'm going to multiply 29.2 times 2. So notice that I don't have to line up my decimal places. Earlier, you can line up your decimal places if you want to be safe for multiplication, but you don't have to. So 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 4 is 4. 2 times 9 is 18. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 5 is 58.40. I know that because I have 2 decimal places. So I'm going to have 2 decimal places as my answer. Alright? So my answer is 58.20. But now I need to know, is this positive or is it negative? Well, if we look at our triangle, we have a negative and a negative equals a positive. So our answer is positive 58.20. Alright, so now we have 2 mixed numbers. We have negative 2 3/5 times negative, that's what the little parentheses mean, remember, times, if there are 2 numbers right by each other, they're connected by parentheses, times negative 5 1/4. Well, we can't multiply these together, so what we want to do is we want to convert them to improper fractions. So, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 3 is 13/5. Then we have times. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21, over 4. And that's negative. So, that's the first step, is to convert them to mixed fractions. Now we multiply fractions. If you remember our rules for multiplying fractions, it's the easiest one to remember, or the most simple one to remember. We just multiply straight across. So we have 13 times 21, which is 273, over 5 times 4, which is 20. Then we have a negative times a negative, which is a positive. So this is our answer. If we wanted to convert that back to a mixed number, we divide 273 by 20, which give us 13, and then take our remainder, put it back over that. Right? So that is our answer, because negative times a negative is a positive. Now we have a negative 8 over 15, sorry about that, divided by 1 over 6, or 1/6. So, remember when dividing fractions, we want to keep the first one the same. We want to change the sign to a multiplication sign, and then flip the second one. Because again, we love multiplying with fractions. If we could multiply with fractions with everything, we would. So even when we're dividing with fractions, we want to flip the second one and then multiply. So when dividing fractions, flip this sign and multiply. Or flip this second and multiply. Sorry, I said that wrong. A little tongue-tied. Alright, so now that after we have gotten our division of fractions to multiplication of fractions, we can multiply straight across. So 8 times 6 is 48. 15 times 1 is 15. So when we have our little circle, we have our positive at top, negatives at bottom. If we have, let me get a different color than red and pink. If we have a negative times a positive, it is still negative. So we have negative 48 over 15. And we're going to leave that exactly like the same because our answers are in fractions. So we're going to leave our answer in a fraction. We don't have to change it to a mixed number.